In the UK, it can be pretty tricky to find a good brisket, especially if you're into cooking Texas style barbecue and you watch YouTube videos of mostly people in the US cooking US style packer briskets. But there are a load of options that you can go for. Loads of online butchers, your local butcher may be able to cut one up for you or source them. But one thing that can be a little bit tricky is getting hold of a UK brisket that has a good amount of marbling and a good amount of fat cap. So a full packer brisket with good marbling, good fat cap is what I'm really after. And I know from the messages I get from people, that's what a lot of you guys are after too. And more people are selling them every year, cut specifically for this style of barbecue. But there is one particular brisket that I've been using over the last couple of years. It's a UK grass-fed brisket, but it happens to have a really good fat cap, generally good marbling, and the price point is generally pretty good. And that is the XM Gold brisket from John Davidson's. And I thought this video would be a good opportunity to show you one of those briskets, show you how I cook it. And next time you see someone asking about where they should buy a brisket, perhaps you can link them to this video. So here it is, the XM Gold brisket. It's a full packer cut, Black Rock Mountain XM Gold, 6 kilogram. This cost me £90. So I'm gonna get this trimmed up, show you how I do it. And this video isn't sponsored by John Davidson's or anything like that. A lot of you know this genuinely is the brisket that I use if you've come to my classes and probably other videos that I've done. So first thing I'm gonna do to trim this up is just find this little mohawk, this little ear, and I'm just gonna take it off. Obviously making sure to round it out. I'm sure you've seen plenty of briskets being trimmed up before, so you know the deal. You've got one side which is generally covered in more fat than the other. This is the flat muscle under here. It's kind of thin, hasn't got much fat cap on top of it, if at all, and it's generally gonna leave you with a section of fairly dry lean, and this is gonna turn out far better for me in a sausage than it will do on this brisket. So I'm gonna take it off. Just trying to round everything off where I can. Nothing too square. And they generally have nice thick flats, which is always good to help promote more even cooking. And in terms of the fat cap and the marbling, looking a lot better than most UK grass-fed stuff. And just take that fat cap down just a little bit. So on the fattier side, I am just gonna take this down a little bit just so I can see how thick that fat cap actually is. Exposing the meat there, you get an idea of how thick that fat cap actually is. Taking that side down really helps. Now I can see that we've got a nice amount of fat to work with. So I've just taken this fat cap down to where I think it's about 1/2 centimetre thick, maybe a touch more. Actually went a little bit too deep here, which is a bit annoying, but try and make it look nice and smooth, nice and rounded. And I found if it looks good, you generally get a better bark. And that's pretty much how I trim up an XM Gold. In terms of seasoning, I like to keep it real simple. The Costco Kirkland brand coarse black pepper, I'll do 2 parts of that, roughly, and 1 part Diamond Crystal kosher salt. Dump that brisket in there. And I should have mentioned, I didn't do anything to the underside on here. You could take off this little bit of fat that's under here and the membrane, but typically I don't really bother. It doesn't ever seem to be that much of a problem. All over the top, sure to get the sides, and there we go. Got our XM Gold trimmed up, seasoned up. Let's get it on the pit. So we're just picking up from our last video using this pit, which was the fire management, so I'm not gonna bother cleaning this out. And if you wanna find out more about how I manage temps on my offset, you can click the link above. So we got the smoke yoke up to temp, running at about 200, 225, and we're gonna put this on right in the middle. Close that down, keep that cooking there for a couple of hours before we bump the temperatures up. So we are about 3 hours in or so. We've been cooking this brisket about 225. I'm just checking it just to make sure that nothing is too crunchy. Everything's feeling quite good, so I know that my fire's on point, and I'm just gonna give it just a little bit of a spritz down, just on that back end there, not too much, just to make sure that that side that's facing the fire isn't getting too much heat. And not gonna crisp up or cook too fast. We'll shut it down, bump the temperatures up to about 250, 260, and keep cooking. Okay, so we are 8 hours and 15 minutes into this cook. And as you can see, this brisket, dealing with some bad lighting right now, is looking nice and barky. The fat cap is nice and rendered. It's looking nice and dry as well. Again, hopefully you can see that in the dark. You will also notice that the flat is facing the firebox, which is the opposite direction to what I had it earlier. If you want to know why I do that, click the link above and you can watch my full brisket cook video. I haven't changed my process since then. This is at 180. Definitely want to be wrapping after 165 at the very minimum, but ideally into the 170s, 180s. The main thing I'm looking for is a nice dry bark. It means it's cooked most of its water moisture out. So let's take this inside and wrap it up. Right, so we're going to foil boat this. This has got a nice fat cup on it, so I'm happy to foil boat it. You could leave it unwrapped, you could wrap it in butcher paper, you could wrap it fully in foil. It really doesn't matter too much. Today, we're gonna foil boat it. Back onto the pit, flat towards the fire, keep on cooking. So it's been 10.5 hours, pretty much been running at 275-ish, maybe 280, 285, and it's feeling nice and pillowy, and it is feeling nice and tender. In terms of making sure that the whole thing is fully done, the last place to cook on a brisket is generally this section here, about halfway up the flat and right in the center, so about there. So all I'm gonna do is just, and it feels nice and soft, nice and tender. If that's the last place it's gonna get cooked, that means the rest of it's cooked. We're gonna take this off, take this inside, and let it rest for however long it takes to get to about 150 Fahrenheit internal. So this is gonna hang out inside until it gets to that internal temperature of 150 Fahrenheit. I'm looking to eat this as soon as it's nice and cooled down, so I don't need to put it into a cooler or do anything like that. All I need is for this to get to a nice serving temperature, make sure that it has a good rest, all that kind of stuff. So it's gonna hang out here probably for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, however long it takes for the internal to get down to 150, and then we'll slice into it. So this brisket has been resting for about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes or so. It's come down to an internal temperature of 150 Fahrenheit. Right. Oh, it's feeling nice and tender, that's for sure. We gotta go in with this tallow that has seeped to the bottom of the foil. So this is looking nice, feeling nice and tender. So just as usual, I'm gonna cut it down the middle. Looking real nice, not too dry, doesn't look like a typical grass-fed brisket. Smells really good. And then in terms of the point, same situation, looking real good. Nice amount of fat in there. This cut end will oxidize pretty quickly, but if you dunk it in some fat, or effectively oil, it's just gonna keep that end from oxidizing. Take a couple of slices from the point, and that is looking pretty good. Nice and tender. Ah, ruined it. But yeah, nice amount of fat in there, nice and glossy. You can see that we haven't overcooked the point, rendered the fat just on the end there. So that's a good slice of brisket. Take a little burnt end. Oh my God. Oh, I feel like the exposure is just killing this right now. Got that little crispy bark going on just here from the old foil boat. And to be honest, this is why I'm saying that I think that this is the best UK brisket that you can get hold of in terms of price, availability, fat content, and it is delicious too. That good grass-fed beef flavor. But take a slice of this flat muscle and see. Ooh. That is looking real good as well. It's nice and tender. That would be a perfect little slice to go in a taco. Maybe a breakfast taco with some egg, maybe some potato. It's pretty much available online at John Davidson's pretty much all year round. If you're into catering or you just want to cook a brisket and you want to cook a brisket like all those people on YouTube do, this, I think, is the one to go for. So that is the XM Gold brisket from John Davidson's. I would highly recommend it if you're looking to cook Texas style barbecue that looks and trims up and cooks like those briskets that you see online. Then I think this is the one for you. There are so many other briskets out there. A lot of them are really good in terms of price, in terms of fat content, but for me, this has been the most consistent one. Again, this video isn't sponsored by John Davidson's at all. I bought it full price online, just like you can do. You can get it delivered to your door. I would recommend trying it out. It cooks up really nice. I really didn't do too much to it, and you can see that based on the lack of content within the actual video itself. So yeah, if you're new to cooking barbecue or into cooking barbecue and you want to get into cooking a brisket, then I would definitely give this a go. If you like this video, please drop a comment below. Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things. It really helps me out, and I'll see you in a week or two for another video.